Honourable Leanne Dalziel.
Mr Chairman, I think that's the point that I would like to follow on from, because I did read in the Select Committee report a recommendation that the Standing Orders Committee develop a procedure around the appointments and also with the other bodies that aren't officers of Parliament, such as the Independent Police Conduct Authority and the Abortion Supervisory Committee, which the Minister mentioned. And the particular recommendation that they had in their report was an adaptation of the procedures for the appointment of an Officer of Parliament. And I thought that had kind of a nice ring to it, given the debate that obviously occurred at the Select Committee around whether it should be an Officer of Parliament or an independent Crown entity. I actually agree that it should be an independent Crown entity. I'm not of the view that it should be an Officer of Parliament, and I think that the Select Committee actually dealt with all of the arguments that had been put to them quite neatly, and I also agree that it could create some problems for the Speaker being accountable to Parliament for the operations, and obviously it's in a very political sphere, and that could lead to an inappropriate line really being drawn where we wouldn't want it to be drawn. And it's also, I think, the board structure, as the committee identified, is not really in line with individual appointments as the other parliamentary officers are. So, and I think that really does suit that model better. But I quite like this idea of making a recommendation to the Standing Orders Committee, so I wouldn't mind if the Minister did make a response to that particular proposal. I understand that in the meantime that the Minister plans to consult with all party leaders about appointments, and he's making that point, I think, around using the example of the Abortion Supervisory Committee, only making appointments where there is broad level of support across all parties, and that's, I think, to be commended. And as I understand it further, that some of the features will include the appointments being made from application rather than nomination, to ensure that the selection process is as consistent and transparent as possible. I mean, we've got this from the Minister's office today, so I assume that I'm reporting this accurately to the House. The board positions will be advertised online and in major dailies. Candidates will be shortlisted and interviewed by an independent panel, and appointments will be referred through the Cabinet appointments process, and then the consultation will occur with the political parties. And that seems like a good enough process to be working on at the moment, but I do think that it would be enhanced by having the Standing Orders Committee look at adopting a particular process that would then be adopted by all governments in the future. And I think transparency would enhance confidence in the process and also in the individuals who take up the appointments on the board. So I certainly commend that work of the Select Committee. The second thing that I wanted to really say in the committee stages on this was to refer to the objective, which is obviously in part one of the Electoral Commission, which is established to administer the electoral system impartially, efficiently, effectively, and in a way that facilitates participation in parliamentary democracy and promotes understanding of the electoral system and associated matters, and maintains confidence in the administration of the electoral system. And it's the middle one of those that I have a concern about, its capacity to do so given other events that are occurring at the moment. And this is the promotion of understanding of the electoral system and associated matters. Under another bill that the House is addressing at the moment, and I simply want to refer to this because this will become a feature or a requirement of the Electoral Commission should the outcome of the referendum on the review of MMP survive the referendum ballot next year. And there's a substantially new role for the Electoral Commission should that occur. And in fact, in previous time, well, the one previous time where a review of the MMP system has occurred, it was dealt with by a special select committee of Parliament chaired by the Speaker. And of course there was no such role for the Electoral Commission, either in the establishment of the Royal Commission of Inquiry that led to the promotion of MMP as an alternative system here in New Zealand, and also all of the subsequent legislation that passed through this House, all gone through parliamentary processes. So in the past we've had Parliament a Royal Commission. We've had a special select committee of Parliament chaired by the Speaker, Mr. Chairman.
Honourable Leanne Dalziel.
We've had the Speaker chairing the special committee, select committee of Parliament, to look at MMP. So if MMP survives the referendum vote, then this will be a new role for the Electoral Commission to conduct a review of MMP with specific issues defined in the legislation for the Commission to look at, but not, I think, limited in that regard. Now, I don't think that I can overstate the significance of this new role, but I am raising one real concern that I have. It will be vital that the Commission is able to ensure that there is very high quality information out there about the nature of our current electoral system, because there are going to be very powerful vested interests out there determined to get rid of proportional representation. I really worry that a brand new organisation that will be running its very first general election, and I know there's going to be a merging of those who've got current interest and involvement in the work of the Commission. I worry, though, that that will take the priority of the new organisation will be the general election. We've got a major constitutional issue being decided by way of referendum, and I know that it's not the final decision, but it's obviously going to be of significance in terms of what happens next. With no limits on spending on the referendum and unlimited access to television, there is a real risk that democracy will be subverted by totally misleading advertising designed to undermine proportional representation. And if we thought that it was kind of humorous with the paper bags over a few heads of people that apparently we wouldn't know as list MPs, which was all they managed to throw together when they suddenly realised that the people of New Zealand were going to vote for change back in the early 90s, then dream on. That is not going to be what it's going to be like next time. These people will have unlimited access to television in the middle of an election campaign. I could write the script myself. I know exactly how they are going to prepare for this. It's perfectly obvious to anyone who is concerned about retaining a system that produces a fair result. So I think that unless this is addressed, the first test for this new Commission will represent, or could potentially represent, a travesty of democracy, leaving the Commission with no ability to meet that most important objective, promoting understanding of the electoral system and associated matters. So I'm going to want some reassurance from the Minister that there will be sufficient resources available to the Electoral Commission so that it can participate in this process in a way that ensures that people get access to quality, unbiased information, because I'm sure the biased information is going to be outspent, I think, 100 to 1 by those that oppose proportional representation and want to return to the happy days when there were single-party governments, the single-party governments who could ram through, as I think Sir Geoffrey Palmer described, an unbridled power, anything that they chose to ram through. And parties of both colours were guilty of doing that, both red and blue. And unfortunately, there are those that hanker back to those days. Most of those that were involved in the red days now belong to the blue and yellow corner, and so therefore probably don't sort of quite see it in exactly the same light. But given where their support base is, I'm sure that they will be backing removal of proportional representation, because if they get majority national governments able to deliver more to their agenda than a Labor government would, then I'm sure that they will be pushing for that change. So that is a serious concern that I want to put on the table, and I hope that the Minister can address that.
Honourable Jim Anderson.